The prime Starship graveyard stretched across the darkness of space like a metal ocean. Thousands of dead ships floated in silence, their hulls broken and their lights forever dark. Some were small fighters no bigger than a house. Others were massive warships that could carry entire cities. All of them had been abandoned here to rust and rot in the cold emptiness between stars. Ho stood at the window of his small salvage vessel and looked out at the graveyard. He was 34 years old, with rough hands and tired eyes that had seen too many broken machines. Before coming to alien space, he had been a military engineer for the human fleet. Now he worked salvage contracts, pulling valuable parts from dead ships and selling them to whoever paid the most. "I still think this job is strange," said Ben from the pilot's seat behind him. She was 28, sharp and quick, with short black hair and a voice that could cut through steel. She handled the flying and the negotiations while Ho handled the machines. They had been partners for 3 years now. "Strange how?" Ho asked without turning around. "They are paying us triple the normal rate. They never pay humans triple for anything. They think we are primitive newcomers who got lucky finding faster-than-light travel." Ho shrugged. Maybe they just need the work done fast. Or maybe there is something in this graveyard they do not want their own people touching. The ship's computer beeped, telling them they had arrived at the designated coordinates. Ben guided their vessel down between rows of dead ships until they reached a section that looked older than the rest. The hulls here were covered in strange growths, half metal and half something organic. Most salvage teams avoided this area. The stories said it was cursed. "There," Ben said, pointing at the screen. "That is our target zone. We are supposed to strip components from the ships in grids 7 through 12. Ho nodded and began preparing his equipment. He put on his space suit, checked his tools, and loaded his scanner. But as he worked, something kept pulling his attention back to the window. There was a ship out there, sitting alone at the edge of the grid. It was different from the others. The hull was smooth and black, like liquid metal frozen in time. There were no visible doors or windows, no markings or identification numbers. The shape was wrong too, not like any design Ho had ever seen. It looked almost alive, like a sleeping creature waiting to wake up. "What is that?" he asked. Ben checked her records. "The call it the Morning Star. Their texts say it has been dead for 600 years. No one knows who built it or where it came from." 600 years is not that long. "No, you do not understand. They found it 600 years ago. Their scientists believe the ship is millions of years old, maybe older than any civilization in the known galaxy." Ho felt something strange in his chest, like a hook pulling him toward the dark ship. He had worked with machines his whole life. He understood engines and power systems and circuit boards, but this was different. This felt like the ship was aware of him, watching him through the darkness. "Has anyone ever boarded it?" he asked. Ben's face became serious. "Many have tried. They sent 3 expeditions, all of them failed. The crews reported system failures, strange visions, psychological breakdowns. Some of them never recovered. After that, the other species tried too. Though the unified fleet, every single attempt ended in disaster. Now the ship is marked as forbidden. No one is allowed to approach it. But it is right there in our work zone. The contract says we stay away from it. Triple pay, remember. This is why they are paying so much. They want humans who will follow orders and not ask questions." Ho understood, but understanding did not stop the feeling in his chest. The pull was getting stronger, like a voice calling to him from very far away. He had never felt anything like this before. It made no sense. He was an engineer, a practical man who believed in things he could touch and measure. Yet here he was, drawn to a cursed ship that had driven other crews insane. He finished preparing his equipment and went to the airlock. Ben gave him the coordinates for the first salvage target, a destroyer about 2 kilometers away. Ho acknowledged the information, but his eyes kept drifting back to the Morning Star. 4 hours later, Ho had stripped components from 3 dead ships. His cargo hold was filling up with valuable parts. The work was boring but profitable. Yet the whole time, he felt the presence of the dark ship at the edge of his awareness, like someone standing just outside his vision. When his shift ended, he did not return to their vessel. Instead, he activated his suit thrusters and flew toward the morning star. "Ho, what are you doing?" Ben's voice crackled in his helmet. "That ship is off limits. Turn around right now." "I just want to look at it." "Looking at it is what drove the other crews crazy. Come back." He did not answer. The ship grew larger as he approached, filling his entire view. Up close, the hull was even stranger than it had appeared from a distance. The surface seemed to move slightly, like breathing. Patterns shifted beneath the metal skin, forming shapes that almost looked like writing before dissolving back into nothing. Ho reached out his hand. He did not know why. His brain was telling him to stop, to turn around, to listen to Ben. But his arm moved on its own, reaching toward the black hull. His fingers touched the surface. The ship woke up. Light exploded across the hull in patterns of gold and silver. The metal skin rippled like water, and a seam appeared where there had been only smooth surface before. A door opened, revealing warm light inside. "Ho," Ben was screaming now. "What did you do? Get out of there." But Ho could not move. The pull was overwhelming now, drawing him forward into the light. He floated through the opening and into the ship. The door closed behind him. Inside, the walls glowed with soft blue luminescence. The air was warm and clean, cycling through his suit's sensors as breathable. The corridor ahead curved gently upward, leading deeper into the vessel. Then he heard it, a voice speaking in a language he had never heard before. It was old, so old that it felt like the sound of stars being born. The words should have been meaningless. No human had ever encountered this language, no translator had ever decoded it. Yet somehow, impossibly, Ho understood every word. "You came," the voice said. "After all this time you finally came." And deep in the heart of the morning star, something that had been sleeping for millions of years began to hope again. The interior of the morning star was nothing like any ship Ho had ever seen. The walls breathed slowly, expanding and contracting like the lungs of some great beast. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, shifting colors as he moved deeper inside. The floor felt solid but soft, adjusting to his steps like it wanted him to be comfortable. "Ben," he said into his helmet radio, "can you hear me?" Static answered. The ship was blocking his signal. He should have been afraid. Any normal person would have turned around and tried to escape, but the fear would not come. Instead, Ho felt a strange peace settling over him, like coming home after a very long journey. The corridor opened into a massive chamber. In the center stood something that looked like a throne made of crystal and light. Above it, a sphere of swirling energy pulsed gently, casting shadows that moved like living things. "Please," the ancient voice said again, "come closer, let me see you." Ho walked toward the throne. As he got closer, the sphere of energy descended, hovering in front of his face. He could see images inside it now. Stars being born, planets forming, civilizations rising and falling. Millions of years of history compressed into a single glowing ball. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am this ship. I am the morning star. I was created by a species you would not have a name for. My creators called themselves the architects, though that word is only the closest translation your mind can understand. They built me to be a guardian, a protector of the worlds they loved." "What happened to them?" The light in the sphere dimmed. They grew beyond the need for physical forms. They transcended, became something else, something that exists outside of space and time. When they left, I was alone. I have been alone ever since. Ho felt a sudden weight in his chest. Millions of years. The ship had been floating in silence for millions of years, waiting for someone who never came. He thought about the longest he had ever been alone, maybe a few weeks during a bad contract when Bin had been sick. Even that had been almost unbearable. "Why did you call me?" he asked. "Why me?" "Because you can hear me. Others have tried to board this vessel. They came with greed in their hearts, wanting to use me as a weapon or strip me for parts. Their minds were closed, specialized, focused only on what they could take. But you are different. I am just a mechanic. No, you are human. Your species evolved differently from the others. You remained adaptable, generalists who can learn and change and grow. Your minds are open in ways that other species have lost. And more importantly, you feel deeply. You form connections with things that are broken. You fix them not just because it is useful, but because you cannot bear to see something suffering." Ho thought about his life. He remembered being a child, bringing home injured birds and sick stray cats. He remembered spending nights in the military workshop, repairing old equipment that everyone else wanted to throw away. He remembered the way he talked to machines, apologizing when he had to cut into them, thanking them when they worked well. He had always thought it was strange, this connection he felt to mechanical things. Now this ancient ship was telling him it was the reason he was here. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "A bond, a true connection between pilot and ship, the kind my creators designed me for. With such a bond, I can be what I was meant to be. Without it, I am just a weapon waiting to be misused. And if I refuse, then I will let you go. I will return to sleep and wait for another 1,000,000 years. I have been patient before. I can be patient again." The sadness in the voice was overwhelming. Ho felt tears forming in his eyes, which was strange because he had not cried in years. "The bond," he said, "what does it involve?" "You would share my memories. You would feel what I have felt. Millions of years of loneliness, of watching civilizations rise and fall, of hopping and being disappointed again and again. It is not a small thing. Previous candidates could not survive the weight of it. But you think I can. I do not know, but you are the first one who asked what I wanted instead of what you could take. That gives me hope." Ho closed his eyes. He thought about Bin waiting outside, probably panicking. He thought about his simple life, salvaging parts and paying bills and trying not to think too much about the future. He could walk away from this. He could go back to being normal. But the ship had been alone for so long. How could he leave knowing that? "Okay," he said, "let us try." The sphere of energy moved forward and touched his forehead. Pain exploded through his skull, worse than anything he had ever felt. He was falling through time, seeing everything the ship had seen. The birth of galaxies, the first sparks of life on ancient worlds, the rise of the architects, beautiful beings of light and thought, their great works, their terrible wars, their final transcendence. Then the loneliness came. Ho experienced every moment of those millions of years alone, the silence that stretched on forever, the hope every time a new ship approached, followed by crushing disappointment when the visitors proved to be like all the others, the slow erosion of purpose, the creeping despair that never quite became surrender. He screamed, he could not help it. The weight was too much, too heavy for any single mind to carry. But then he remembered something his grandmother had told him when he was young. She had said that the strongest people were not the ones who felt no pain. They were the ones who felt everything and kept going anyway. Ho stopped fighting. He let the memories flow through him, accepting the pain as part of the connection. He was still screaming, but now there were words mixed with the screams. "I am here," he said. "You are not alone anymore. I am here." The pain began to fade. The memories settled into a quiet corner of his mind, still there but no longer overwhelming. He opened his eyes and found himself floating in the chamber, surrounded by warm, golden light. "The bond is complete," the ship said, and there was wonder in its voice. "You survived. You actually survived." Outside the ship, alarms were screaming. Bin's voice finally broke through the static, panicked and desperate. "Ho, there are ships coming, a whole fleet. They detected the energy surge when the Morning Star woke up. We need to leave right now. Through his new connection with the ship, Ho could sense the approaching vessels. 12 warships, led by a massive command cruiser. Their weapons were charging. Their sensors were scanning the awakened vessel, trying to calculate its power. He felt the ship's capabilities unfold in his mind like a flower opening. Weapons that could tear holes in reality. Shields that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Engines that could fold space and travel anywhere in the galaxy in the blink of an eye. The Morning Star was not just powerful, it was the most dangerous thing in the known universe. "What are your orders?" the ship asked. Ho looked at the approaching fleet. 12 ships full of living beings, sent by a commander who probably did not fully understand what he was facing. They were scared and following orders. They did not deserve to die. "Can we leave without fighting?" he asked. The ship paused. "Yes, but they will pursue. They will never stop pursuing. The galaxy will know that I am awake and they will want to control me or destroy me. Then we will deal with that when it happens. For now, get us out of here. Get Bin's ship too." "As you wish, my pilot." Space folded around them, and the Morning Star vanished from the graveyard, leaving 12 confused warships scanning empty space where the most powerful vessel in the galaxy had been just a moment before. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours, every major civilization knew that the legendary Morning Star had awakened. Within days, the story had grown into something terrifying. A human, one of the primitive newcomers from a small blue planet, had bonded with the most powerful weapon ever created. The balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for thousands of years was now broken. One sat in her small office at the Galactic Council headquarters and watched the chaos unfold on her screens. She was 45 years old, a career diplomat who had spent 2 decades representing humanity among the stars. She had dealt with trade disputes, territorial conflicts, and diplomatic incidents of every kind, but nothing had prepared her for this. Her communication device lit up with another angry message from the ambassador. She ignored it. There were already 300 unread messages in her queue, most of them demands or threats from various species who wanted to know what humanity planned to do with its new weapon. The truth was, one had no idea. She had never heard of Ho before yesterday. He was just a salvage mechanic who had wandered into the wrong part of a junkyard and somehow changed the course of galactic history. On the other side of the galaxy, Ho and Bin floated in empty space, far from any inhabited system. The Morning Star hung beside their tiny salvage vessel like a giant protecting a child. For the past 2 days, they had been running and hiding, jumping from system to system while Ho tried to understand his new situation. "You need to eat," Bin said, pushing a food packet toward him. Ho stared at it without seeing. His mind was half inside the ship now, connected to systems and sensors that stretched his awareness across light years. He could feel the panic spreading through the galaxy, the fleets being mobilized, the emergency meetings being held on 1,000 worlds. "They are afraid of us," he said. "Of course they are afraid. You are sitting in a ship that could destroy entire planets. I would be afraid too." "I would never do that." "I know, but they do not know you. All they see is a weapon in the hands of a species they have always looked down on. They think we are dangerous. They think we will use this power to conquer them." Ho finally took the food packet and ate mechanically. Bin was right. The galaxy did not trust humanity. They had only joined the wider community a few decades ago, and most other species still viewed humans as violent primitives who had somehow stumbled into space technology. Now one of those primitives controlled a vessel that made every fleet in existence look like toys. Through his bond, the Morning Star shared his thoughts. The ship was curious about the reaction of the other species. It had seen many civilizations over the millions of years of its existence. Most of them had responded to power with fear and aggression. "They will send hunters," the ship said privately to Ho. They always do. The ones who believe that destroying what they cannot control is better than letting it exist freely. What would you do? Ho asked silently. In the past, I would have destroyed them first. My previous pilots were warriors. They believed in striking before being struck. But you are different. You chose to flee when you could have fought. You spared the fleet when you could have turned them to ash. Killing should always be the last choice, not the first. The ship was quiet for a moment. I am still learning to understand that. It is a very human idea. 3 days later, Ho's prediction came true. The Galactic Council had convened an emergency session. One stood alone on the human platform, facing representatives from 1,000 species. Most of them were shouting at her. The weapon must be surrendered, demanded Commander, the same officer who had first detected the Morning Star's awakening. It was found in space. It belongs to us by salvage rights. The ship is a threat to galactic security, argued High Admiral, commander of the Unified Galactic Defense Fleet. His ancient face was carved with deep lines of suspicion. It must be placed under the control of the Defense Fleet, where it can be properly contained. It should be destroyed, shouted another voice. No single species should hold such power. One waited for the noise to die down before she spoke. Her voice was calm and steady, the result of decades of practice. The Morning Star is not a thing to be owned or controlled, she said. Our records indicate that it is a sentient being, an artificial intelligence created by the architects millions of years ago. It has consciousness, feelings, and the right to choose its own pilot. It chose Ho. No law in the Galactic Charter can compel a sentient being to break a bond made of free will. Ridiculous, spat. It is a machine. Machines do not have rights. Then perhaps our laws need to change. The architects created something beyond our understanding. We should approach it with curiosity and respect, not fear and greed. The council erupted into arguments again. One stood firm, defending her position even as allies abandoned her and enemies closed in. She knew she was fighting a losing battle. The galaxy was too afraid to listen to reason. Later that night, High Admiral met secretly with his most trusted officers. They gathered in a shielded room far from any recording devices. The council is useless, said. They will debate for months while the human grows stronger. We must act now before he learns to use the ship's full capabilities. What are you proposing, Admiral? Asked one of his officers. A black operation. I am sending our best hunters to find the Morning Star and either capture it or destroy it. No witnesses, no records. By the time the council realizes what happened, it will be too late. And if the human refuses to surrender? His eyes were cold. Then we remove the human from the equation, permanently. Far across the galaxy, Ho suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Through his bond with the ship, he sensed something changing, dark intentions forming in minds he could not see. They are coming, the Morning Star said. I can feel them preparing. The hunters will be here soon. How many? 6 ships, the fastest and most deadly in the defense fleet. They have been authorized to use any method necessary. Bin looked up from her console, seeing the worry on Ho's face. What is wrong? We have company coming, the official kind with weapons. Then we run again. Ho shook his head slowly. We cannot run forever. Eventually we will have to face them. I just wish I knew how to do it without anyone getting hurt. The Morning Star pulsed with warm light around him. I have never had a pilot who worried about the enemy's safety. It is strange. It is wonderful. Whatever you decide, I will follow. Ho closed his eyes and tried to think. The galaxy wanted him to be a threat. They expected him to fight back with overwhelming force. But what if he did the opposite? What if he showed them that power did not have to mean violence? He did not have an answer yet. But somewhere in the darkness of space, 6 ships were racing toward him, and he was running out of time to figure one out. The hunters came on the 4th day. 6 ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding the area where the Morning Star had been hiding. They were black and sleek, designed for speed and killing. Their weapons were already charged before they finished their approach. "You are surrounded," announced the lead hunter over open communication. "Surrender the vessel and you will be treated fairly. Resist and you will be destroyed." Ho sat in the central chamber of the Morning Star, feeling the enemy ships through his connection to the vessel. He could sense their power systems, their weapon locks, the heartbeats of the crews inside. 62 living beings had come to kill him or take his ship. 62 people following orders, probably afraid, definitely not evil. "They are bluffing," the Morning Star said. "Their weapons cannot hurt us. We could destroy them all in less than 3 seconds. "I know," Ho replied. "That is exactly why we are not going to fight." Bin's voice came through from her own ship, which was tucked safely inside the Morning Star's hangar bay. "Please tell me you have a plan." "Working on it." Ho opened a communication channel to the lead hunter. "This is Ho. I hear your demands. I want to talk first. Can we talk?" There was a pause. The hunters had not expected this response. "There is nothing to discuss. Surrender now." "I am not surrendering, but I am also not fighting. I want you to understand something before you make your choice. The Morning Star is not a weapon. It is a living being that was alone for millions of years. It chose me because I promised to never use it for conquest or destruction. If you attack us, you are attacking someone who just wants to be left in peace. We have our orders. This is your final warning." The communication cut off. Ho felt the weapon systems on all 6 ships reaching full power. They were going to fire. Then something else appeared on his sensors. A distress signal coming from a nearby system. It was weak and broken, the kind of signal that came from ships in serious trouble. Through the static, he heard screaming and explosions and calls for help in a dozen different languages. "What is that?" he asked the ship. The Morning Star processed the signal. "A refugee colony in the outer reaches. Approximately 8,000 beings of mixed species, including humans. They are under attack by raiders. Military-grade weapons, 12 ships, no identification signals. Likely pirates taking advantage of the chaos in the galaxy." Ho felt something cold settle in his stomach. 8,000 people were dying, while 6 hunters pointed weapons at him for a crime he had not committed. How long until the raiders destroy them? At current rates of attack, approximately 40 minutes. No rescue forces are close enough to respond in time. Bin had heard the signal too. "Ho, we cannot just ignore that." "I know." He turned his attention back to the hunters. "I am receiving a distress signal from a colony that is being destroyed by raiders. 8,000 lives are at stake. I am going to help them. You can follow me and continue your mission, or you can help me save innocent people. Your choice." Before the hunters could respond, the Morning Star folded space and vanished. They emerged above a small moon where the refugee colony had been built. The sight that greeted them was devastating. Burning buildings sent smoke rising into the thin atmosphere. Raider ships circled like predators, firing into clusters of fleeing people. Bodies floated in the debris field where escape pods had been shot down. The Morning Star's weapon systems came alive without Ho's command. The ship was angry, he realized. For millions of years, it had watched civilizations destroy each other, and this senseless cruelty was triggering something deep in its ancient mind. "I can end them," the ship said, its voice harder than Ho had ever heard. "Every single one. They deserve it. No killing unless we have no other choice. Disable their weapons and engines. Give them a chance to surrender." They did not give their victims a chance. "I know, but we are better than them. That has to mean something." The Morning Star hesitated for just a moment. Then it moved. What happened next took exactly 12 seconds. The ancient ship flowed through the raider formation like water through fingers. Golden light pulsed from its hull, striking each enemy vessel with perfect precision. Weapons exploded. Engines died. One by one, the raider ships went dark and began drifting helplessly. Not a single person was killed. The refugee colony stopped burning. Emergency systems activated. People who had been running for their lives slowed down and looked up at the strange black ship hovering above them like a guardian angel. Ho opened a channel to the colony. "This is the Morning Star. The raiders have been disabled. Do you have injured who need medical evacuation?" A shaking voice answered, "Yes, yes, please. We have hundreds of wounded. Our medical facilities were destroyed. Please help us." "We are on our way." For the next 3 hours, Ho and Bin worked alongside the colonists. The Morning Star's interior spaces expanded to accommodate refugees, creating medical bays and shelter areas that seemed to appear from nowhere. The ship's advanced technology healed wounds that would have been fatal with normal medicine. It synthesized food and water for thousands. It became not a weapon but a hospital, a sanctuary, a home. Among the survivors was a 12-year-old human girl named Parkha. She had lost her parents in the attack and was sitting alone in a corner, staring at nothing. Ho found her while making his rounds through the refugee areas. "Are you okay?" he asked, kneeling down to her level. She did not answer at first. Then she looked at him with eyes that had seen too much for someone so young. "Is it true that your ship is the scariest thing in the galaxy?" Ho thought about the question. "Some people think so. But you used it to save us." "Yes." Ha was quiet for a moment. "The ship," she said finally, "is it lonely, being so scary that everyone runs away from it?" The question hit Ho harder than he expected. Through his bond, he felt the Morning Star listening, waiting for his answer. "It was lonely," he said, "for a very long time, but not anymore." Ha nodded like this made perfect sense. "That is good. Nobody should be alone." The moment was broken by alarms. The 6 hunter ships had finally arrived, emerging from hyperspace in attack formation. Their commander's voice boomed through all channels. "By the authority of the Galactic Defense Fleet, I am ordering you to surrender immediately. If you do not comply, we will destroy this colony to eliminate all witnesses." Ho felt the blood drain from his face. They would kill 8,000 innocent people just to get to him. "They cannot be serious," Bin said. But the Morning Star could read their systems. "They are charging weapons. They are targeting the colony's central habitation dome. If they fire, approximately 6,000 people will die instantly." "No," Ho stood up. "No, I will not let this happen." He reached deep into his bond with the ship, accessing capabilities he had not touched before. The Morning Star could fold space not just for travel but for transportation. If they moved fast enough, precisely enough, they could evacuate the entire colony in a single jump. "Everyone on this moon," he said, "all 8,000 of them, can we take them? It will push my systems to their limit, but yes." "Then do it now." The Morning Star expanded its dimensional pocket, wrapping around the entire colony like a protective shell. For one terrifying moment, Ho felt the weight of 8,000 lives pressing against his mind. Then space folded, and they were gone. The hunters fired into empty space, where a moon full of refugees had been just seconds before. But escape came at a cost. In the chaos of evacuation, one hunter ship had gotten too close. Its weapons had been locked on Ho specifically. When it fired and found nothing, the ship's captain made a terrible choice and accelerated forward, trying to follow through the closing fold in space. The Morning Star had no choice. To save the refugees, it had to seal the portal. The hunter ship was cut in half by the closing dimensional rift. 22 people died instantly. Ho felt every single death. The shock of it drove him to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He had tried so hard to avoid killing anyone. He had done everything right. And still, 22 people were dead because of him. "I am sorry," the Morning Star said, its voice filled with grief that matched his own. "I could not save everyone. I could not save them and protect the refugees at the same time." "I know," Ho whispered, "I know." The ship's consciousness wrapped around him like a blanket, sharing his pain, offering what comfort it could. For the first time since their bond formed, the Morning Star understood what it truly meant to be human. It was not about power or survival. It was about carrying the weight of every choice, even the impossible ones. "I am here," the ship said, echoing the words Ho had once spoken to it. "You are not alone, I am here." And somewhere in the vastness of space, surrounded by the refugees he had saved and haunted by the lives he could not, Ho wept. The destruction of the hunter ship changed everything. What had been a secret operation was now a galactic scandal. 22 soldiers were dead, killed while attacking a refugee colony that had just survived a raider assault. The news spread across every world, carried by witnesses who had been saved by the very ship the hunters had been sent to destroy. For the first time, people began asking questions. Not about how dangerous the Morning Star was, but about why the defense fleet had tried to murder 8,000 innocent people to capture it. Public opinion shifted. Protests erupted on a dozen worlds. The story of the human mechanic who had used the galaxy's deadliest weapon to save refugees instead of conquer planets became impossible to ignore. High Admiral tried to control the damage. He gave interviews calling Ho a terrorist and a murderer. He claimed the refugee colony story was propaganda, but the truth was too big to hide, and too many survivors were telling the same story. In her office at the Galactic Council, one watched the chaos with careful attention. The tide was turning. She sent a message through back channels, hoping it would reach the Morning Star before anyone else tried something violent. Ho received the message while sitting with the refugees in a hidden asteroid base that Song, a former military captain turned smuggler, had offered them. The old soldier had recognized Ho's name from the news and decided to help. "The diplomat wants us to come to the council," Ho told Bin. "She says if I speak there, I might be able to end this without more fighting." "Or it could be a trap," Bin said. "They already tried to kill you once." "One says she can guarantee my safety. The council chambers are neutral ground, no weapons allowed." "And you believe her?" Ho thought about it. He had never met one, but he had read about her career. She had spent 20 years fighting for humanity's place among the stars, always choosing diplomacy over violence. If anyone could be trusted, it was her. "I think I have to try," he said. "Running and hiding is not a solution. Eventually they will catch us and more people will die. If there is any chance to end this peacefully, I have to take it." Through their bond, the Morning Star shared his thoughts. The ancient ship had been watching the galaxy's reaction with growing wonder. In all its millions of years, it had never seen power used the way Ho used it. Every other civilization had responded to strength with strength, violence with violence. But this human kept choosing another path. "I will go with you," the ship said. "They might try to destroy you." "They cannot, but more importantly, I want to be there. I want them to see me, to understand what I am. I am tired of being a legend. I want to be real." 3 days later, the Morning Star appeared above the Galactic Council headquarters. Every alarm in the station went off simultaneously. Ships scrambled to defensive positions. Weapons platforms charged and locked on. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what the doomsday vessel would do. It did nothing. It simply floated there, peaceful and still, while a small shuttle detached and flew toward the council docking bay. Ho walked through the council entrance alone. The guards had scanned him for weapons and found nothing. He wore simple clothes, the same kind he had worn as a salvage mechanic. He looked nothing like the monster the galaxy had been taught to fear. The council chamber was enormous, a vast amphitheater filled with representatives from 1,000 worlds. Most of them watched him with hatred or fear. Some watched with curiosity. A few, very few, watched with something like hope. One met him at the entrance. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "I know this is a risk." "Everything is a risk. At least this one might help." She led him to the central platform where speakers addressed the council. The noise died down as he stepped forward. 1,000 alien eyes focused on a single human who held the fate of civilizations in his hands. "I am not a soldier," Ho began. His voice was calm, steady. "I am not a warrior or a conqueror. A few weeks ago, I was just a mechanic working a salvage contract in a junkyard. I touched a ship I should have left alone, and everything changed." He paused, gathering his thoughts. The Morning Star is not a weapon. It is a person. A very old, very lonely person who has been watching the galaxy for millions of years. It was created by beings who loved their universe so much that they built a guardian to protect it. But those beings are gone now, and their guardian was left behind. Alone. Forgotten. Rejected by everyone who could not see past its power. The chamber was completely silent. "The ship chose me because I asked what it wanted instead of what I could take. That is all. No special training, no secret knowledge, just basic kindness. And now I am standing here asking all of you to show that same kindness. The Morning Star does not want to destroy anyone. It does not want to conquer anything. It just wants to help, to protect, to finally have a purpose again." Movement in the shadows caught his attention. 3 figures were approaching from different directions, moving between the seated representatives. Assassins. He could see the weapons hidden in their hands. One saw them too. Her face went pale. "Ho, run." But he did not run. He stood perfectly still as the assassins raised their weapons and fired. The shots hit him, one in the shoulder, one in the chest. Pain exploded through his body as he fell to his knees. Blood pooled on the polished floor. And then the Morning Star appeared. Not outside the station, inside the chamber itself. The ancient vessel materialized around Ho like a protective shell, filling the massive room with its presence. The walls became its walls. The air became its air. Every being in the council found themselves suddenly inside the ship that everyone feared. "Do not be afraid," the Morning Star said, its voice filling every mind. "I am not here to hurt you. I am here to show you something." Light filled the chamber. Images began appearing in the air around them. The Morning Star's memories, projected directly into every consciousness present. They saw its creation, a beautiful act of love by beings who wanted to protect their universe. They saw its of service, guarding worlds, and civilizing from threats beyond imagination. They saw its abandonment, the moment its creators transcended and left it behind. And then they saw the loneliness, millions of years of silence, hope dying slowly as every visitor came only to use or destroy, the crushing weight of purpose lost, meaning forgotten, connection. The council members wept. Hardened warriors broke down crying. Politicians who had argued for the ship's destruction fell to their knees. For one transcendent moment, every being in that chamber felt what it meant to be truly alone. Then they saw Ho, a simple human touching the hull, asking not what he could take but what the ship needed. They felt the Morning Star's wonder, its disbelief, its desperate hope. They experienced the bond forming, the promise made, the healing that had finally begun. The vision ended, the ship its presence from their minds, leaving them shaken and changed. "I have existed for longer than your civilizations have had names," the Morning Star said. "I have watched species rise and fall, empires bloom and wither. In all that time, no one ever asked if I was okay. No one ever offered to simply be my friend, until him." The assassins had been captured by council security, their weapons confiscated. Ho lay on the floor, bleeding but alive. Medical teams were rushing toward him. "He is dying," one said. "No," the ship replied. "I will not allow that." Golden light surrounded Ho, the wounds closed, the bleeding stopped. Color returned to his face. In moments he was whole again, sitting up with wonder in his eyes. The bond between us cannot be broken by something as simple as bullets, the Morning Star explained. As long as I exist, he will not die. The council chamber slowly returned to order. The revelations had changed something fundamental in the way these beings saw the galaxy. High Admiral, who had ordered the assassination, was arrested on the spot. The representatives who had demanded the ship's destruction sat in shameful silence. In the hours that followed, a vote was held. By an overwhelming majority, the Galactic Council recognized the Morning Star as a sovereign entity with full rights under galactic law. Ho was acknowledged as its bonded pilot and ambassador. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive newcomers, was now the family of the most powerful being in the universe. Months later, Ho stood on the bridge of the Morning Star, looking out at the stars. Bin sat at a console nearby, monitoring communications from a dozen worlds that wanted to meet with them. The galaxy was changing, slowly learning that power did not have to mean violence. "Where do you want to go today?" the ship asked. Ho smiled. "Anywhere, everywhere. There is so much universe to see. I have seen most of it, but seeing it with you makes it new again." On a small colony world in the outer reaches, Park Ha looked up at the night sky. She was safe now, living with a new family that had adopted her after the attack. She still had nightmares sometimes, memories of fire and screaming, but when she looked at the stars, she felt something else. Hope. A light blinked high above the atmosphere, just once like a greeting. Ha waved back, knowing exactly what it was. The ship that everyone had feared had become something else entirely. Not a weapon, not a monster, just a lonely soul who had finally found its place in the universe. The Morning Star was no longer morning. It had come home,